bullpen. It's going to be Martin Perez on the hill for the Padres and Edward Cabrera going for the Fish. And in news so weird, you'd think I made it up, Jim Harbaugh is going to be Michigan's honorary captain for their home opener. The former Michigan coach has accepted an invite to be the team's honorary captain for the Wolverines' August 31st game against Fresno State. Earlier in the week, the NCAA announced a 4-year show cause penalty for Harbaugh for contact with recruits and players while access was being restricted during the pandemic, effectively banning him from coaching in college football again until 2028. There's used, there's certified, and then there's BMW certified. Now through September 3rd, take advantage of no payments for 3 months on all 2019 through 2022 BMW certified models. See a San Diego County BMW Center today for details or visit sdcountybmw.com.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour one, Jon and Jim. We will lead you up to the surging Padres and the Fish from South Florida. Padres Marlins, game one of a 3-game set. It's great to start a show with Kevin Acee, our Padres insider in Miami, back with us on Jon and Jim. So, Kevin, we always appreciate it. I was reading yesterday, I want to say, before the game in your notebook or in the UT, and I was fascinated that the Padres had the best record in baseball from April 30th to yesterday. And of course, they won yesterday as well. Is that surprising to you? We know it's been a very good month. Were you surprised when you were doing the research that they in fact have the best record in baseball over the last 3+ months?
Yes and no. I mean, I lived it, but I know exactly what you're saying. So like, I knew that it was over certain periods that despite those, multiple 5-game losing streaks, I knew that from, certain days in July, June, go back to May. And I remembered that at the end of April, they did have that run there, beating the Reds, the last 2. And then they had a couple more wins after that. I was like, okay. And so I went back. And so I wasn't because I purposely went there to that date, but then I was because, yes, for the same reason you're asking, like, there were some rough patches. So, but I think that is very interesting. And it does drive home that, like, I think we were all just kind of waiting for, and I include myself in there, even though, sorry, I heard your intro and I understand what you're saying, but actually them doing well proved me right. We can talk about that later because I like to talk about being right. It doesn't happen very often, but I thought this was a good team and I said that, blah, blah. But like, it does kind of, we were all waiting for, 2023, and we were, kind of gun shy about that, right? But it does prove, show that, like, they really haven't been that bad this year, even though we were all waiting for the sky to fall.
No, I think it's a good point. And you look at it, we talked about, this being a roller coaster, and Mike Shildt took exception to it. And the truth is right now he's probably right, because they have been the best team in baseball since April 30th, and they have played really well, obviously, since the All-Star break as well. What's the impact, Kevin? I mean, they win the 3 games in Pittsburgh, but they use, they blow through their bullpen, not really their fault with game 1 with the rain delay and the way these final couple of games played out. They went 10 innings one day. We see the move today. Vasquez option, Brito recalled. What's the state of the bullpen and the pitching staff as a whole heading into Miami?
Well, Brito gives them a little breathing room, right? First off, they're playing a terrible team.
Yep.
Okay. And I think that we're past the place that we're like, the Padres are playing a bad team. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't come in and Jake Berger can't have a big game and some other young, hungry players can't have. They're still playing, a team that is ostensibly a major league team. They could lose tonight, okay? But, like, come on, this team is bad. And they gave away the good players they had, or they traded them away. Some of them to the Padres, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps, right? But they are still, Matsui's going to be down. They prefer to stay away from Suarez. They prefer to stay away from Adam. Prefer to stay away from Hoeing, who did go 45 pitches, 3 2/3 innings 2 days ago or 3 days ago. So there's guys they kind of rate them green, yellow, red. There's a couple guys in red. There's a lot of guys in yellow that they would like to stay away from, and then hopefully kind of reset by tomorrow is where they're at.
Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. From a 30,000-foot view here, as we head into the final, whatever it is, 6-7 weeks of the regular season, how do you handicap the NL West? Would anything surprise you with the top 3 teams, Dodgers, Padres, Diamondbacks, in terms of order of finish?
Right. Like, it can't surprise you, right? Like, I guess it would be surprising. We all have to be honest with ourselves, go back a couple weeks or a couple months or whatever, and it would surprise us all, right? The Dodgers don't win. Go back to like the Diamondbacks. It appeared maybe they were going to have like a little bit of a hangover. They had some pitching problems. You look at their lineup, you're not all that impressed. And of course you weren't last year either, and they got hot at the right time. Yeah, but at this point now, I guess I'll go ahead and say it. With Mookie Betts coming back, I guess I'd be surprised if the Dodgers complete the collapse and the other 2 teams continue to be hot enough to pass them. That would be a little bit of a surprise. I will give the Padres a lot of credit. People in this organization, and there are times where I just use my powers of, I get to write what I want to write. I didn't think it was newsworthy anyway. So, but in conversations, people in this organization say, hey, we haven't given up on the division. And I'd be like, okay, look, I'm going to protect you from yourself. We don't need to write about that. And I didn't feel like it was really that newsworthy. Who gives a crap, really? And I think it'll be a fascinating debate. Don't you, John? Going forward, like look at how many times the Dodgers have won this division and what's their last decade been like? They got an asterisk World Series. Now, I'm not saying you don't try to win the division, but like, is it really like you definitely try to win it? It'd be cool. It's nice. It's nice to have that little banner and stuff and have that your little thing you put up in your outfield. But like, I think this is about getting to the playoffs and playing hot at the right time. And I think that's what's important, is that's what the Padres are doing.
You're speaking my language. I agree with you. I feel like over the years, Major League Baseball has become a lot like college basketball, where it's all defined by the NCAA tournament. The more teams that make it into the postseason, nobody's remembering the Dodgers for 111 wins. They're remembering them for losing in the NLDS to the Padres or the Diamondbacks in 2023. Now, I think if you can have your cake and eat it too, great. You win a division, you win in the postseason. Everyone would take that, of course. Kevin Acee is with us right now on Jon and Jim. I know you had it today in the UT. I mean, how do we explain, and some people claim there's a luck factor involved with clutch hitting or with men in scoring position. A year ago, they couldn't hit with men in scoring position. This year, they're one of the best teams in baseball with men in scoring position. How do you explain that?
Well, they couldn't hit overall for the most part last year, right? So there's one thing. The other thing is, and I really do believe this, it's something that, I've been writing about, but I'm also working on bigger stuff on it. Like, it's a selfless team. It's a team that has a different approach at the plate with a different hitting crew, as a different hitting coach and then assistant hitting coaches, a different manager. I think some really bad things happened last year, and that really helped some guys buy in to Mike Shildt, to Victor Rodriguez, to things that were being preached this year. It took them maybe a little while, but that's what they've been doing for most of the year, because I would contend their big problem was consistency. I think they've been this good, kind of all year, but they just didn't show it every night. And of course, their pitching's better now, more consistent, but like, they just bought in, man. And you see, gosh, one of the things that stands out to me, the number of runs driven in by outs, both sacrifices and just a productive ground out. They're just a more selfless team that is really all about winning. They are the cliche now, and I really believe that that's legit about this year's team. I do.
Would you expect when they get back home, kind of looking past the Marlins series, is any retribution in order for the way Jurickson Profar was pitched to, eventually hit, throughout that series, with intent or not? It is the major leagues, and when a player gets hit 3 or 4 times in a series, maybe there would be some type of payback retribution. Under Mike Shildt, the Padres haven't necessarily gone that route. They've just won on field. Would you expect anything to come out of that or not?
2 things. First off, Randy Vasquez, I will almost guarantee you, threw at Brian Reynolds.
Yesterday.
And then if it happens again, then maybe. But here's the deal. And it'll be up on the website in a little bit. Talk to Jurickson today. You know how passionate he is. You know how emotional he is. But you also saw how he handled himself against the Nationals. He knows they're winning. He's important. They're all important. They can't afford injuries or suspensions that might arise from something. But yeah, he's pissed. I mean, he doesn't believe there was intent other than to throw inside. But, at some point, hey, that's cool. Respect, right? But at some point, you're going to throw inside. How about you control it? And so, yes, the answer to your question is there could be if there is more. Not like right from the start of that series. Because I do believe, again, no one's necessarily saying it, but no one's denying it. And Randy Vasquez loves Jurickson Profar, like a lot of teammates, but he just really does. Jurickson's played a role in just kind of Randy growth and his acceptance of maybe, being down to start the season, coming back up, going back down now. And Randy Vasquez threw at arguably the Pirates' best hitter yesterday and hit him. And I think you saw it in Brian Reynolds' reaction. He's like, okay, went to first base. But yes, Jurickson is bruised. And Jurickson is pissed right now. But he also understands that he doesn't believe there was intent.
Right. No, it's fair point. Part of you says just keep doing what you're doing because they're winning baseball games. The other part of you says, you can't let a team, quote unquote, get away with hitting someone 3 or 4 times in a series, even if there isn't intent. But I think you said it well. You've been reporting on Fernando Tatis Jr. and a timeline. What are we looking at right now with Tatis and his potential return?
When they talk with confidence, it is about September, and it's look, it's not guaranteed, but they're very confident that he's coming back. It's talked about as when, not if. He will not be healed, like as in the stress reaction will still be there. That whatever little fracture, will still be there. Just like, guess what? Xander Bogaerts still has a fracture. Gets better all the time. Stress reaction is going to take a while. But it's about when the imaging, which he's getting every other week or so, the doctors are comfortable, and when Tatis is comfortable. So when we'll kind of have an idea is when he gets on the field, not like batting practice, but to face pitching, okay, and does some real running, not just like the little skipping and hopping he's been doing and jogging, but does that and then starts a rehab we find out that he's going to start a rehab, because then we're probably only a week or 10 days away if everything goes well. So up until that point, it'll just be like, we'll see. And I don't think, they're not talking about it every day. It's kind of like a weekly thing of, all right, let's get him checked out again. And so that's where we're in a holding pattern a little bit.
Which, again, works when you're playing as well as the Padres are playing. There's no actual hurry based on the way the team
Great point.
is
Not that
performing.
They were rushing back and all that, but that's also the same with you, right?
Yep.
Like there's a real possibility Darvish comes back. But the great thing about both of these guys is it's not like, oh my gosh, when are they going to be back? I hope so. Oh, it's wow, that could be really good for them. And look, there's no doubt, especially Fernando Tatis Jr., they're a better team, perhaps, and they will be better. And I would almost argue they need him. I'm not at all saying they're doing this with smoke and mirrors or anything like that. But the fact is, like, they're doing this with some guys who maybe it won't last. David Peralta, Donovan Solano, 36, 37 years old. Maybe it won't. Look, Jurickson Profar keeps getting hit. Like that guy, he's taken a lot of abuse this year. So they need Fernando Tatis Jr. to get to that place where, they want to go and everybody in San Diego wants him to go.
Finally, Kevin, what does Joe Musgrove's return mean for the rotation? As in, will they keep it as a 5-man rotation, or do you expect them to stretch it out to 6 for a period of time?
So that'll be posting here soon too, but I expect that that's a 5-man rotation.
Okay.
And Randy Vasquez going down virtually assures that. Mike Shildt, Ruben Niebla had talked recently, not like ruling it out, but they at some point you get pretty good at reading between the lines, and you do have conversations that maybe aren't public. And I am absolutely certain that the plan is to go with a 5-man rotation. And the part of that setup is like they've been able to keep away from using guys every 4 days. Like, so guys really are, for as much as they've thrown and as deep as they've gone in games, like guys are getting 5 and 6 days and more days off up until now, more often than they are going 4. So now it's like, okay, need you for a little while to go every 5 days. Okay, they're going to do it.
Kevin, I always appreciate it. I just pulled up the Miami weather. I know there's the dome, but I'm surprised. 80 degrees in Miami. I'm thinking 100 in August, but 80 degrees in Miami, somewhat. It's got to be humid, though. It's got to be humid.
It was like 90 when I landed and humid, and then that rain came in. I think it cooled it down. Gotcha. And yes, you are correct. It could be much worse.
Could be worse.
I'll tell you what. It's still like wearing cellophane.
Kevin, appreciate it. We'll catch up next week, all right?
Right on. Take care.
We'll react to that on the other side. Our conversation with our Padres insider, Kevin Acee, who I think would still be surprised if anyone other than the Dodgers wins this division. We're getting you ready for Marlins and Padres. Dave Velasquez, San Diego State men's basketball assistant. He'll hop on at 3:30. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. Dave Velasquez, longtime San Diego State men's basketball assistant. Summer practice over. They'll take a couple of weeks off and then get ready for the fall. He'll join us coming up in about 7 or 8 minutes. If you're listening for that, of course, we're getting you ready for Padres and Marlins. We have giveaways throughout the course of today's show. This hour, Brent will determine it. Do we have Slightly Stupid and Lainey Wilson today? Is that what we got?
Yes.
All right. So this hour, we're giving away a pair of tickets. What do you want to do? Lainey Wilson this hour or Slightly Stupid this hour?
In honor of Michigan, we'll go Slightly Stupid.
We'll talk about that more later, but Slightly Stupid tickets, we'll give it away this hour. This will be at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on August 24th. It's always good to catch up with Kevin, right? Our Padres insider. The one thing he said that surprised me was that he'd be surprised at the end of the day if the Dodgers didn't win the division. I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be surprised if any of LA, Arizona, or San Diego ultimately won the division. I know we spent a lot of time on this yesterday, but the Padres have done the work. They've gotten fully back into it. Now that they've done the work, now that we've seen the Dodgers be pedestrian for this long a period of time, nothing surprises me at this point. Just because Mookie Betts is returning and their rotation may get healthier, well, the Padres are staring at similar things. Joe Musgrove coming back Monday. Fernando Tatis Jr. hopefully coming back within a few weeks. And also, oh, by the way, just what we're seeing on field, there is no hotter team in baseball since April 30th. There is no hotter team in baseball since the All-Star break. So I would not be surprised. I'm not going to say at the end of the season, if the Padres win the division, that I'm surprised that it occurred. I may have been surprised in February if that occurred. But now that we're living through it, I would not be surprised in the least bit. And Arizona, too. They're 14-4 since the All-Star break. I think it's fully, Brent, there for the taking for all three of these teams, honestly.
Yeah, it is. It's more for the taking than it probably has been in at least 5 or 6 years.
I think again, the Giants got 1 year.
That's why I didn't want to go farther than that, because they had that 1 year
You're
we
right.
found out yesterday. But, I'm kind of at the point of, why can't they do it this year? In previous years, we've had reasons of, they don't score enough runs. So that's my doubt that, they're going to get in a situation they won't score runs. They've checked that box off this year. They're scoring runs when they need to, I don't know about the bullpen. Well, they took care of the bullpen at the trade deadline, and now their bullpen is stacked. And, like we talked yesterday too about how sometimes you just have to, have the ball bounce your way and just get luck sometimes. And this year they're starting to get the luck. And I think that's starting to show in their confidence to where, in previous years, the ball wouldn't bounce their way. They'd get a bad hop that would, go over their head and cost them a run, opposed to this year, they're getting the same bad hop, but it's going off their chest and they're getting the out off at this time. So
100%.
I just think this year, it just feels like it's snowballing, but in a good way, if that makes sense.
Everything's going in the right direction as opposed to the wrong direction.
Yeah.
This is Murphy's Law. It's like everything that goes wrong goes wrong. Everything that goes right goes right. You're right. Because only some of it do you control. You don't control what your opposition does defensively. Like, there's no metric that would say, oh, the Padres are really good at making their opponent commit errors, which is what Pittsburgh did in the 9th inning last night or yesterday in a 1-run game. They throw away. It wasn't a potential double play ball, in my opinion, but they throw a ball away, and the Padres don't only tie it in the 9th inning, they end up taking a lead in that 9th inning. So you can't necessarily account for that. But what we did talk about with Kevin was they've hit with men in scoring position. They've come through in the clutch. They've overcome deficits. This has been the story to this point of the 2024 Padres. They have been resilient. On the other side, Dave Velasquez will talk San Diego State basketball leading up to 2024-25. We'll talk about some of the transfers and the newcomers, and then we'll get you ready for Padres and Marlins. And we've got those Slightly Stupid tickets for you this hour as well. Dave Velasquez joins us next on Jon and Jim.
kind of just figure it all out as we go along. And it's been a great summer. The guys worked really hard, so it's been fun.
Dave Velasquez, again, San Diego State men's basketball assistant, with us right now on Jon and Jim. What are the takeaways, or what are you hoping to learn about a team this early? I mean, you still have months before your season starts. So what do you work on specifically, or what are the motivations and goals this time of year?
Well, the first thing you got to start with is, what's the standard at San Diego State? What do we expect? That's the number one thing. And, and everybody comes from different places, and that's just the world of college basketball. And we've been in the transfer world forever. We didn't just start with this new portal thing. We've been doing it since we got to San Diego State, and since Coach Fisher and Dutcher got here 25 years ago. They've been great with transfers on explaining early on what the standard is here, what they expect, and then after that, you're just trying to kind of mold the guys and the pieces together, because what you see on film is not always what you see on the floor, and you kind of make sure that where can we put this guy to meet this guy's strength, and where can this guy pick up for this guy's deficiency. And so again, the summer is always great to, like I said, learn who the new guys are, and then hopefully for the guys that are coming back. And we have a lot of guys. We have 3 or 4 guys that really helped us win games last year that we're expecting a lot out of, moving forward. And, talking specifically about Miles Bird, Reese Waters, and Miles Heide. Those guys are really good players, and we expect them to take a huge jump. So there's a lot of things going on during the summer, but at the same time, you have enough time before November before our first game to figure it all out.
No doubt about it. So you mentioned Reese Waters, who will enter his second year with the program. Miles Bird, of course, has been here into now his 3rd season, was part of that national championship team on the roster a couple of seasons ago. What have been the discussions with Reese off year one, with the highs and the lows, the adversity? What do you hope to see from Reese as he gets ready for year 2 here at San Diego State?
I mean, every time you step on the floor, be the best player on the floor. That's kind of the mindset, and also to believe in every shot you take, you're going to make. And be as confident in yourself as we are in you. And he's done a really good job defensively on learning our concepts and helping the new guys along. And but yeah, we're expecting a lot out of Reese, and there's pressure that comes with that. And as we move forward, and as the season starts to come along, we'll try to do the best we can as coaches to put him in the best positions to be successful. But Reese knows this is a huge year for him. And last year wasn't always smooth sailing, and no year's ever it's going to be smooth sailing throughout the way. But Reese is the guy that every day I walk into the gym, I expect when Reese is at Gonzaga, I think he had 25 points at Gonzaga. That's the Reese I expect to see, and that's the Reese, that's the standard that we're going to hold him to this upcoming year, and that's the standard he holds himself to. So he's worked really, really hard. He's in elite shape right now, and he's shooting the ball at an elite level. So just got to continue that as the next couple months go. And like I said, as the season, approaches, this is his year. It's a huge year for him.
No doubt about it. Dave Velasquez with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. You mentioned transfers have been a part of the program for a long time. We're now in this portal era. It's just a mainstay across the sport. So what's the acclimation process been like for some of these veteran newcomers, right? Jared Coleman-Jones, Nick Boyd from FAU, Wayne McKinney from Crosstown at USD. How have they acclimated?
They've been great because they're unbelievable humans. They're great people.
Yep.
They fit in really well with who we all are, how we carry ourselves, how we approach every day. We work really hard, never entitled. Those guys came from programs, they 3 completely different style of programs, different background in college basketball, but they've done a really, really good job of just trying to fit into San Diego State, but at the same time, trying to show how hard they work. Jared Jones, he's lost 20 pounds since he got here. And that's not something easy to do in the summertime. And he's worked his butt off, and he's been great. He's in elite shape again, like I talked about with Reese. And, Nick's been awesome. He's an unbelievable vocal leader for us, which we need. And especially from that point guard position. And then Wayne McKinney just, he's a lot of people in San Diego will, recognize him from his USD days, but he just, the way he defends, the way he goes about his business, his character is through the roof, and all their characters are through the roof in terms of just who they are as people. And so it's been great. They've really done a good job of fitting into who we are culture-wise and holding up to the standard that we expect out of all our guys.
Have you sensed, I know you have, just being obviously with the program day in and day out, you sense the chatter that goes on with a player like Magoon Guath. a little bit like a backup quarterback, honestly, in the NFL or college football. Like there's all this excitement and people have seen like bits and pieces of him, but they've never really seen him on the floor unless they've been a part of an Aztec practice. And it feels like the expectation, people are like, oh, this guy's going to average like 30 points and 30 rebounds. Like people have these crazy high expectations for a guy that's never played college basketball. He'll be a redshirt freshman. So I guess I'll ask it like this for our listeners. What have you seen from Magoon, and how do you think it will translate when he does get on the floor on the Mesa?
Well, as a coach, and I'll just speak for myself, sometimes the hype is not always the best thing for a young guy like that. He's unbelievable. He has so many talents and a skill set that is hard to teach. A lot of the stuff he does, you just recruit. First of all, he's 7 feet. He plays like a guard. He can shoot the ball. He can play all over the floor. He's an incredible rim protection. His timing on block shots is through the roof. However, with that said, is what you said, John. It's you got to temper the enthusiasm a little bit, but at the same time, understand that's not the kid's fault, if you will. For all the great excitement around him, because he hasn't played across the street. And with all that being said, we're going to expect a lot out of him because this is a huge year for him. He has all the intangibles to be an incredible player, an all-league guy, a guy that could be another one of those ones that we talk about 3-4 years from now about he made it. He made the dream come true, and he works so hard, and he's so young, and he's such a great kid that it's that he's just going to continue to get better and better and better, and he's done that since the day he steps on campus and fighting all the injuries, and it's well documented now, showing up with 2 broken ankles and fighting through it and playing through it. And now this is his turn. This is going to be his time. But as coaches, we all know you got to be patient. I'll never forget when we had Kawhi as a freshman and all the hype surrounding him. And it took him time. It takes time for young guys to kind of get used to college basketball, no matter where it is. And I know Magoon's going to be great for us. And, as coaches, we've been through it before. And, we're going to help him throughout the process, no matter what.
So speaking of young players, first of all, your freshmen don't look like freshmen, which is like, I feel as if it's a compliment, but then again, they are a freshman in age. You can't change your, when you're 17, you're 17, or when you're 18, you're 18. But I mean, Pharaoh Compton looks the part, big, imposing, physical. Taj DeGorville, the guard he is a big guard with his height and his athleticism. Obviously you have others part of that freshman class as well. Thak Majok is on campus as well right now. What have you seen from these freshmen? Because you're going to count on some of these players from day one, right?
Oh, there's no doubt. The number one thing with freshmen, when you get them when they're young, is you kind of got to see in the summer, like, are you going to be able to rely on them in November and December? Mm-hmm. Or, where's their process going to be? And by this point, with both those guys, we expect them to be a part of the rotation. We expect them to be a part of our team, a big part of our team this year. And yeah, like you said, they don't measure like freshmen. Let's just say that way. They came in and their physical was crazy just to see their wingspan and how big they are compared to other freshmen. But they have the mindset though too. These guys are really accomplished basketball players before they got here. They lost in the championship game, but Pete Sham last year, they both were huge contributors on that team. They both had major roles. So they understand what winning is. They know what it takes to win. You play against the best players at that level for their age. So we're expecting a lot out of them, and they've been great, but they're freshmen. So you don't know what you don't know. And the freshmen, they're continuing to learn. Everything they hear from us is brand new to them. So it's been fun to coach them and see how hungry they are, how bad they want it, how much film they want to watch, how much they want to learn. They've been awesome this summer, and we can't wait to see them get on that floor in November.
One more before you go, and I know the non-conference schedule isn't fully out, but obviously over the years, you've always challenged yourselves. I think about some of these recent years, some of the schedules that have been put together, and likely that's occurring again this year, reportedly with this NIL tournament. We know there's a home and home with Gonzaga with them expected to come here to Viejas Arena. You played Cal last year. It's reported that you're playing a neutral site game in Northern California against Cal as well. What will you learn about the team in the months ahead, specifically in the non-conference, to get you ready for Mountain West play?
Well, you never have the answers, even in December. And that's one of the Coach Dutcher's biggest strengths is how good his teams get throughout the season. And his winning percentage in February is well documented. But there's a reason for that. You don't panic if it doesn't go great early, or if it does go great, you don't say, oh my, we have all the answers. You just continue to get better. And our schedule is going to set us up to have great success in the Mountain West. And that's all we try to do is challenge ourselves. If we recruit and brand ourselves as a marquee program, you have to have a marquee schedule. And that's what we do every single year in and year out. And, again, this is not going to be any different. And San Diego State fans are going to have a lot to be excited about and have a lot of great games to watch in November, December before Mountain West Conference play starts.
Can't wait. It's coming. Again, we've got football in 3 weeks, FanFest tomorrow. We've got San Diego State basketball the first week of November. Dave Velasquez, longtime assistant on the Mesa. Appreciate you doing it, man. We'll do it again later on this summer into the fall, all right?
Appreciate you guys having me. Go Aztecs.
There we go. Dave Velasquez. All right. On the other side, we can react to that. Plus, we are leading you up to Padres Marlins coming up in about 30 minutes. We've got you covered here. Also on the other side, we're giving away Slightly Stupid tickets at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 24th. We'll give those away in about 5 minutes. Stay with us. All right. Hey, guys, it's Schaefer. We've been telling you for a long time about our friends over in Las Vegas at Circa, a true sports lover's dream, paradise, whatever you want to say. We were there in July. We had a spectacular time, Mountain West Football Media Days. We're going back in 2 weeks as we get you ready for the NFL season. They've got an amazing sports book that you need to see. It's an amazing property in general, the hotel, the food, the dining. You have to see their sports book, though. It's amazing, the largest in Nevada. Then you have to see Stadium Swim, the outdoor incredible rooftop pool, which is in fact 6 pools. They've got massive outdoor video boards. You can watch every single Padres game. They air them all year long, every single one. It's open 365 days a year. It's a 21-plus venue. There's nothing to worry about other than sports. And speaking of which, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Pro football's coming back. Their contests are back as well. Circa Survivor and Circa Million, now up to 16 million. You heard me right. 16 million in guaranteed prizes. 2 ways to win and no rake. Circa Survivor contestants select one team each week with no point spread. If you last the longest to win it all, you've got $10 million guaranteed. In Circa Million, make 5 picks against the spread each week for your share of $6 million guaranteed. They have quarterly payouts and full season payouts. You enter in Nevada. You can play from anywhere. Visit circasports.com. That's circasports.com for details. Stay with us in the next 5 minutes. We've got tickets to see Slightly Stupid at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 24th. We haven't even mentioned Jim's not here. You probably
I haven't even noticed.
Yeah, I know. He is at a wedding tonight in Italy. How do I know? I follow him on social media. This wedding looks like something you would see like on an episode of The Bachelor on ABC, where you have these couples by the water and they're shooting fireworks off.
Well, yeah,
it looks unbelievable.
If I'm going to go all the way to freaking Italy to get married, it better look like that.
I mean, this wedding,
it better not be something that I could just get an Elvis impersonator's drive-through in Vegas. Just, Clooney better show up. He may,
since it's in Lake Como in Italy. This wedding, I almost need like an over-under on its cost. Again, this isn't Jim's wedding. He's a guest at a wedding. Aaron's friend is getting married in Italy, and I'm looking at some of these videos and photos, and I'm seeing fireworks on Lake Como, and I'm looking at, I'm thinking the bill is like over-under is like $499,000. Like, this thing is not cheap, and that's probably high, but like, this looks like it costs all the money in the world. All right, we're getting you ready for Padres and Marlins. Remember, Kevin Acee was with us earlier, and he said that he's spoken with Jurickson Profar about the way that the Pirates pitched to him this past week in Pittsburgh. And remember, the Pirates are coming here to Petco beginning Monday, so in like 3 days. So here's a direct quote from Jurickson Profar in an article that Kevin Acee just published in the Union Tribune. They're trying to pitch in. This is from Profar. They're trying to pitch in, not to let me get extended. But you have to control your pitches too, because I'm all messed up right now. I've got bruises everywhere. I'm hurting. It's not fun. I'm a piñata with all the colors too. That's Jurickson Profar today to Kevin Acee of the UT.
I get it, but just that's part of the game. I remember Prince Fielder, he had to start wearing that big, thick elbow brace because he would get hit so much because he liked to get up and crowd the plate. And, the pitchers would sit there and try and brush him off and back him off the plate, and he wouldn't do it. And so in turn, he'd get hit a lot. And, I get it. It's just, it worries me of the places where he's getting hit. The ball he took on the kneecap when he's already had some knee issues this year and stuff, the game against the Nats when they hit him right in the foot. And, those are the things I'm worried about. The ones when they hit him in the thigh, it's going to hurt and you're going to have a bruise. But, if you're going to get hit, that's where you want to get hit.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the seasons are so long that like we think, well, it's baseball. It's not football, but there's so many bumps and bruises along the way. Some we know about, some we don't. I mean, you can see the hit by pitches, but you don't know when someone slides into second, what they're aggravating, or when they sprint out to first, how their hamstrings are feeling. Profar's overcome it all to this point. We just want to see that continue. Amazingly, when he got hit in the knee 2 days ago, stayed in the game briefly and then left. I'm like, he's not playing the next day. There was that day game, and he's in there, and he got hit 2 more times. So he's been a mainstay, a constant, and a contributor. And I just hope to see it continue, because I have no question that Jurickson Profar can continue to be the player he's been this year, but I can't control his health. I mean, there's always questions about someone's health. He's had an amazing year. Now he needs to finish it off. Will his health allow him to do it? I'm crossing my fingers on that. I'm hopeful, but again, like at some point, you can't just be hit every single day and be dealing with injuries every single day and be a 900 OPS player.
Well, what he did with Kevin, though, it's also kind of a smart way, because he can't just come out after a game and just, complain about, oh, yeah, I'm getting thrown at and they're not calling it, because he'll get fined. But he can nonchalantly just be like, yeah, I'm pretty beat up and I'm pretty bruised. And that could be a nonchalant way of just getting it out there to the umpire crews that, hey, you guys notice I'm kind of getting hit in an ordinary amount of times, to where maybe next time when I get hit, more than, multiple times in one game, you guys will be like, hey, come on now. This is starting to become a habit. And maybe they'll take notice of it. I doubt it, but maybe.
Yeah. Let's just look at it this way. Like, again, with everything the Padres have overcome, let's just hope they keep overcoming, I guess is my point, because they're overcoming a lot and they keep getting thrown more things at them. Example, the bullpen is taxed. Not their fault. What happened 3 days ago, they had to throw 8 innings. Then there was an extra inning game. They had to throw 5 innings. Bullpen's taxed to the point where they're making moves now. Last couple of days, Randy Vasquez down. Johnny Brito is up. They sent Alec Jacob down. So they're doing everything in their power. And then you have a night like tonight, Martin Perez. Everyone says the same thing. I heard it earlier today. Big Rich, TD, and Fletch, they're spot on. They're like, the Marlins are terrible. And that's a factual statement. I mean, they've got one of the worst winning percentages in baseball. They traded away their best players as well.
Yeah, we have half of them.
But you're right. Luis Arraez, Brian Hoeing, right? Tanner Scott. But despite all of that, like Martin Perez hasn't had the greatest year. He had a good start with the Padres. He's starting here tonight. You're gonna need some length out of him because your bullpen has been used a lot. We'll see if he gives them that length, is effective. A series that we talked about yesterday, just go win it, right? I mean, sweeping it would be phenomenal. You're talking about a 6-0 road trip, but go win this series. Even though the Marlins are the Marlins, I'm not going to get ahead of myself and say you have to sweep the series. I want to see them win this series. And I don't know how easy it's going to be tonight with Martin Perez. You're asking him to go 5+ innings potentially here tonight.
Yeah, but if you're going to ask him to do that, this would be one of the teams
to do it against.
Ask him to do it against.
You're right.
You know, you wouldn't be like, okay, Martin, we got the Yankees tonight. You know, we're going to need you to go out there and pitch like you've never pitched before in your life. But, you know, it's a lot easier to say, all right, we got the White Sox tonight, or, you know, we got the Marlins tonight. Like, you know, you don't have to go out there and be Nolan Ryan. Just, you know, go out there and just make good pitches, and that should be enough to get the job done.
All right, call right now. Caller 5, you've got 2 free tickets to see Slightly Stupid at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. We should have done this earlier, shouldn't we, Brent? Caller 5, you've got 2 free tickets to see Slightly Stupid at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 24th, 877-767-4760. Call right now. 2 free tickets to caller 5, 877-767-4760. We'll get to the wrap on the other side. Padres Marlins coming up in about 20 minutes. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, San Diego, Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. We have Laney Wilson tickets to give away. We'll do it coming up. Between now and 6 p.m., we are leading up to Padres and Marlins, the Fish, down in South Beach. So we're getting you ready for that. Today, by the way, is Mike Shildt's birthday. Mike Shildt celebrating a birthday, second half Shildt. The Padres have been, you got to be careful saying that, by the way. The Padres have been, I just realized that the Padres have been the best team in baseball in the second half, and Mike Shildt is kind of known for what he's done with his teams late in seasons, whether it was St. Louis over 3 seasons, now here in 2024 with the Padres, who, again, have put themselves in the position they want to be in. I mean, they lead wild card teams right now. They're 2.5 games back in this division. Brent referenced this yesterday. What the Dodgers have coming, if you want to play that game, which I'm happy to do, it's the middle of August. Shouldn't we be looking at standings? That's kind of the point. If you want to play the game, yes, they're hosting the Pirates, who haven't been playing great baseball, but Paul Skeens will throw one of those 3 games. And then from there, like, it's going to get challenging for LA. They're going to Milwaukee. They're going to St. Louis. They still have Baltimore coming up. They have to go to Arizona. Like, none of the upcoming month for the Dodgers is quote unquote easy, while the Padres are playing teams like the Rockies and the Marlins over the next week and 10 days.
Yeah, it was kind of a funny coincidence that a stat meme popped up on my Facebook wall today that had the remaining teams with the toughest and easy. They ranked the remaining schedules, and the Padres have the 4th or 5th easiest schedule out of all of Major League Baseball, and the Dodgers were like about in the middle. They had about the 15th hardest so if you go by that, it's kind of what you would want. You would want us, going up against, teams that we can definitely beat on paper, and them going up against teams that can beat them on paper.
It's also like when people look at standings, like, this is why I took exception with what Derek Togerson told us yesterday on Jon and Jim, because he has a podcast with Darnay, and he's like, division's over, essentially. The Dodgers are going to win it, and the Padres aren't going to win it, and here's why. And that's his opinion. That's fine. And we all have opinions. But I almost look at where they are, where they're 2.5 games back, but you got to look at trend lines. This is the only time I'll ever reference like politics on the air. You watch an election night, and they're like 9% of the precincts are reporting, and then it becomes 19 and 29 and 59. But you got to know where the votes are coming from. When they show, I'll give you an example. They show the state of Wisconsin. When you haven't counted Milwaukee, you got to account for the fact that some blue votes are coming in. If you have accounted for Milwaukee, my point is, it's a horse race. So, like, as you come down the stretch, just because you're trailing, if your horse is good in the final 500 meters, I don't know anything about horse racing, but you got my point. If your horse is a closer, then that horse is fine to be tracking behind a leader, so to speak. And that's where the Padres are right now. They're closing well. They're 14-3. They have the schedule that could be advantageous. The Dodgers don't necessarily have it. Yeah, the Dodgers might get healthier, and that's a factor. But my point is, as down the stretch they come, yeah, you're 2.5 games back, but you're playing better, and you have the schedule to go along with it that could allow you to overcome those 2.5, 3 games.
Well, we're getting healthier too.
Right.
We're going to get Musgrove back. We're hopefully going to get Tatis back here soon. And so it's not like, the Dodgers are the only team that's going to get, healthier down the stretch. We're getting healthier too. So it's only 2.5 games.
It's nothing.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like I said yesterday, that's a series.
Yes.
That could evaporate, I can't snap it. That could evaporate this weekend. That's to me, like I said, yes, if it would have been, 5.5 or 6, then, I'd be with DT. It'd be like, yeah, this probably isn't going to happen. They don't got enough, room to make up that amount of games. But this is less than a series. Like, if the Dodgers go and lay an egg this weekend against Pittsburgh, and we do what we're supposed to do against the Marlins, guess what? Lead evaporated. Padres in first place by the time we come in on Monday.
It's possible. I mean, you're right. That's how razor thin. Like, 2.5 games, guys. This division, the Padres have not finished within 16 games in this division in a full season since 2010. This ain't that. They're not 16 games out. Truthfully, I would tell you, there's a big difference between 2.5 games and 6.5 games, right?
No,
and
it's
they're not
huge.
6.5 games out. So, like, you got to be a believer. And by the way, if they fall 3.5 out, they fall 3.5 out. If they fall 4.5 out, like, at some point, we'll look ourselves in the mirror and say it's not as realistic. But they're fully in this thing. If everything goes perfectly this weekend, you're right. You come back home, you're a game out or something like that. You could even conceivably be in the lead in the NL West. And then we'll see. We'll see from there. Pittsburgh's coming here. You just swept them. You're going to Colorado. They are on hard times. You're in Miami right now. They are on hard times. And you've got this team that has fully bought in. I mean, they're fully bought in. Your post-trade deadline, it's the burn the ships time of the year. Also be careful saying that. What I mean by it, this is the group. This is who they got. It's only theoretically getting improved with Tatis. You reference with Joe Musgrove. We've talked about with potentially Kevin Acee told us in the first hour of the show, don't rule out Yu Darvish returning to this team either. He also said, by the way, he expects a 5-man rotation. Randy Vasquez has gone down. Joe Musgrove is going to pitch on Monday. So I'm ruling nothing out. And that's where I took exception yesterday because I felt as if Derek was making definitive statements. Again, his opinion, and he may be proven right, but I can't make any definitive statement with this much baseball still to be played.
And the Padres have not, at least as of a couple hours ago when I looked, they haven't announced a starter for tomorrow or Sunday yet.
Yeah, what is it? I have the game notes. I don't know if
that makes me think that are we going to get Musgrove on one of those days? Shildt said that he thought we would see him in Miami.
No, I think, though, because of Dylan Cease's outing, it'll move Musgrove back to Monday, is what's being reported. But I do think we'll see Dylan Cease this weekend. I had it in front of me, the game notes a moment ago, and I can look at probable pitchers in the game notes. They've disappeared from me. Here we go. Probables in this series on the game notes. It'll be Matt Waldron Saturday and Dylan Cease Sunday. So that's what the Padres have in their game notes. Matt Waldron tomorrow, by the way, that's a 1:10 Pacific start, and then Sunday a 10:40 a.m. Pacific start. But again, you win today with Perez, who, by the way, was really good his first time out, and then you go Waldron Cease against a lame duck team that's not having a good year. Then you get home, and man, that's going to be fascinating to see Joe Musgrove Monday night for the first time in 2.5 months, pitching at Petco Park.
Who do they play on Monday?
That'll be Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
That's Pittsburgh on Monday when the Padres come back home. So that's what you're looking at, and we'll see if the Padres can stay hot. Hottest team in baseball, 14-3 since the break. It's kind of like the Marlins against the Marlins tonight with Luis Arraez and Brian Hoeing and Tanner Scott. You could see 3 former Marlins from this year appear potentially in this game. That's at least a possibility. The other thing,
the 5,000 fans in attendance have just given him a standing ovation.
I was going to say, this is Friday night. We're watching. This is Friday night. Man, never take this for granted, San Diegans. At Petco Park on a Friday night, this is for years now. There's 45,000 people. I don't even care if the team's good. I mean, they pack them on the weekends. This is a Friday night in a large American city, Miami. And to Brent's point, it might be more than 5, but it's not more than 10,000.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
They're going to have 10,000 people in the building. I'm sure a number of them are there to see someone like Luis Arraez, who was a very good player for the Marlins for part of a couple of years. A number of them are there to see the Padres, who are out east. So 10,000 people, I bet half of the fans in the building are rooting for San Diego or have an interest in rooting on a player like Luis Arraez. So be so thankful. We should be thankful doing what we do day in and day out, Brent, to talk to San Diego sports fans and to Padres fans, because you can't fill half of the lower bowl on a Friday night in an indoor dome in a stadium that's 10 years old in South Florida. I know the team sucks, but you can't have $10 tickets or $2 hot dogs or bobblehead night or something to put 20,000 people in a building on a Friday night when school's out.
Yeah, it's not that hard. The Brewers used to do that like all the time when they were bad, to where like 3 times a week we'd have $1 hot dog.
Right. And it's like, dude, I mean, I think I've mentioned
beer.
I think I've mentioned that I worked in the minors. I think I've said it on air
like once or twice.
And you're drawing more people in AAA than the Marlins are drawing in the major leagues. And they're not the only team. You got teams like Oakland out there.
Yeah, it's like Savannah Bananas get more people than these guys.
You're right. If Savannah was playing in this ballpark tonight, there'd probably be 35,000 people in the ballpark. So I would also say this. Padres who play in front of 45,000 people routinely. create your own energy, win this series in Miami. If you do it, you're in perfect shape coming back home for Pittsburgh and then a road trip to Colorado. All right. Again, this hour, we can give away these Lainey Wilson tickets. We'll do it. We'll give away Lainey Wilson tickets this hour, so be listening for that. That'll be at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 23rd. Programming announcement for tomorrow. For Aztec fans, we have everything you need 3 weeks out from the Aztecs opener, which will be 3 weeks from Saturday. We have you covered with Fan Fest from 3 to 5. I heard Brent mention it earlier today on the midday matchup that Sean Lewis is going to be on the show and JD Wicker is going to be on the show. He's spot on. So you'll hear from Sean Lewis. You'll hear from JD Wicker. We've got a 2-hour show. Myself, Jonathan Rifkin, special guests, including Sean Lewis and JD Wicker. This is a free event. If you're a sports fan, again, the Padres are on the road. If you're looking for something to do that's free and fun, great for families tomorrow, get to Snapdragon Stadium. Free event, $10 to park, but a free event. You can get tickets at goaztecs.com. Maybe you've only been to Snapdragon Stadium a couple of times. Maybe you haven't even been yet because it's only been a couple of years. It's a great opportunity to get out there. We'll be broadcasting live from 3 to 5. That's the lead up because they're going to be playing actually at 5 p.m. We'll hear from Sean Lewis later during today's show on Jon and Jim on what to expect from Fan Fest. By the way, the quarterback situation I think could play out in terms of naming a starter at some point over the next week. Not a guarantee, but I think it could play out at some point over the next week. And spoiler alert for Aztec fans, I don't know if it's a 2-horse race or it may actually be a 3-horse race. We'll play Sean Lewis for you coming up later this hour. On the other side, we will get to the wrap. We have Lainey Wilson tickets to give away as well. And iHeartRadio is the exclusive home of NBC's coverage, audio home of NBC's coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympics. And this NBC Olympic Report is brought to you by Islands Restaurants, your local paradise. All right, Jon and Jim back with you here until 6 p.m. We've got Laney Wilson tickets. We'll give away coming up later this hour. Also coming up in about 10 minutes, we're going to hear from Sean Lewis on what to expect if you're going to Fan Fest tomorrow, if you're an Aztec fan. Also on the quarterback race, so to speak, who will be the starter for San Diego State. When will it be determined? Sean Lewis spoke with the media earlier today. You'll hear from Coach Lewis at SDSU coming up in the next 10 minutes or so. But right now, let's get to this.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Do you think tomorrow's gold medal game between USA and France will be a blowout?
Based on what we saw,
16.5 point favorites for the U.S.
Okay, so no, I'll say, I guess what the definition is, I'll say it's kept within 20. I'll say it's a single-digit game in the second half. That, to me, isn't a blowout. This hopefully comes easier than the game against Serbia. I think now they're on high alert. I mean, you're playing for a gold medal, so at this point, you're fully up for everything, and it's a hostile environment. You're playing France in Paris, so I think they'll be up for it. I think France is probably pretty good. They got a silver 3 or 4 years ago in Tokyo, so I think U.S. wins, and we'll see how comfortably they win.
Yeah, they started to celebrate a little too early yesterday, and I noticed before they cut the coverage off, LeBron kind of huddled them all around and told them to knock it off, and I can't repeat exactly what he said because he dropped a few F-bombs in his speech, but he pretty much said, we got one more game left and stop celebrating. We got one more game left to finish it, so just stop it.
No doubt about it. All right,
like you said, they had their wake-up call yesterday.
Yeah, I think they did. Next question.
Braves and the Reds are going to play at Bristol Motor Speedway next year. Name another non-Major League Baseball stadium you'd like to see a baseball game played in.
I've always thought this is cool. I always like these ideas like college football, NFL. Like the NFL's playing in Sao Paulo, Brazil this year on a Friday night. We've seen the Field of Dreams games in MLB. We saw the Rickwood Classic game in Birmingham, Alabama at Rickwood Field earlier this year. Now this Bristol thing's crazy. You might put 125, 150,000 people in there. That's amazing. You talked about it yesterday. Honestly, I put the question in and then I didn't fully vet it out in terms.
I have two.
Okay, let me hear yours.
One, kind of obvious, Dallas Stadium, or go to the Jerry Dome.
Okay, it's hard in an NFL stadium. I mean, I don't know about dimensions because even Bristol Motor, you got way more field space than you would in an NFL.
Well, you
stadium.
do, but that's just so huge that they're going to be able to fit it, and they've fit WrestleManias and everything else in there.
Okay,
so I think they could
Jerry World.
But another football stadium, Rose Bowl.
See, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know the history of the LA Dodgers, but when they moved to LA before Dodger Stadium, I think they played, was it Rose Bowl or the Coliseum? But it was 200 feet to left. You know what I mean? Because when you think it's really far to right and really not far left, or vice versa, because of the dimensions. Honestly, we've seen college basketball on aircraft carriers. We've talked about that, or outside.
Well, I looked the other day when I had the story in my update about. I was trying to find another racetrack. I was like, is there a racetrack out here in California?
Yeah,
that
there
they
is.
Could play?
Yeah.
Well, there is, but California's race was one of the 2 or 3 NASCAR races where they actually turn right.
Oh, I got you.
So they couldn't. Yeah, they couldn't just slap a baseball game in the middle of it.
I'll give you one. Home of the College World Series, Omaha.
Okay.
I think Omaha. It's a great stadium. It seats about 25,000. It's between a minor league and major league stadium. It's got so much history. The people of Omaha absolutely love baseball. Put a game in Omaha. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yep. Next question.
What's your reaction to Jim Harbaugh being named honorary captain for the Wolverines opener against Fresno State?
I mean, it's certainly not
too
PC.
Soon? Too soon?
Yeah, it's probably too soon. Listen, what happened last year, if you're a Michigan fan, it's an amazing year. I mean, you don't just stumble out of bed and win national championships in college football, and it's been dominated by the SEC. They had been on relatively hard times over a 20-year period. They weren't, routinely winning or 11 or 12 games, so it was a magical year. You can't really take anything away from that, but show cause, a full year suspension, the sign stealing scandal. I don't know if it's great timing. In fact, I know it's not great timing for anyone that isn't a Michigan fan. So it feels ill-timed. And I honestly, with a university like Michigan, I'm somewhat surprised by it, to be honest.
I don't have a problem with them doing it. I'm just surprised that they announced it like 2 days after the NCAA pretty much banned him till
same week.
2028.
Right.
You know, just he doesn't have to be there for the home opener. Have him come to some game in November or something when a couple months have passed and people kind of forget that he's been effectively banned from college football for 8 years.
This is probably the only week because it's still 10 days in front of the NFL opener.
Yeah,
and from that point, you're basically in this, I don't know, maybe there's a bye week, but they probably looked at it and this is probably the only possible game.
Yeah, when I first saw that today, I was like, yeah, right. This
can't be real, right? Yeah. Next question.
Will the Padres sweep the Marlins?
You know what? I hope to be proven wrong. I say they win the series, and then I hope to be proven wrong and they actually sweep it. I'll say they win the series. Listen, the way they're playing, they're fully capable. They don't even have to be playing like this to sweep the Marlins, so they're fully capable. I mean, think about if they do it, Brent. The last road trip, 7-2. This road trip, 3-0. If they do complete a sweep, 6-0 road trip, then, I mean, you're talking about 13-2 over a 15-game stint on the road. That they've been incredible, home and road here recently. But that would be amazing. A 6-0 road trip. I don't care who you're playing.
Oh yeah.
That'd be amazing. So we'll see. I'll say they win the series. I don't want to get greedy yet prior to game 1. All right. On the other side, we've mentioned it. FanFest is tomorrow. What will Aztec fans see tomorrow from San Diego State's football program under the direction of Sean Lewis? Also, what about the quarterback battle? How is it going? And are there 2 leaders in the clubhouse or 3? You'll hear from Sean Lewis after practice today at San Diego State. That's coming up next on Jon and Jim.
This report is sponsored by Caltrans. The Padres and the Marlins are underway right now in Miami. Currently in the top of the second, there is no score. It's Martin Perez on the hill for the Padres and Edward Cabrera going for the Fish. And Jim Harbaugh has been named Michigan's honorary captain for their home opener on August 31st against Fresno State. Now, of course, earlier this week, the NCAA announced a 4-year show cause penalty for Harbaugh for having contact with recruits and players while access was restricted during the pandemic, effectively banning him from coaching college football again until 2028. Attention, California drivers. The kids of Caltrans workers count on you to keep their loved ones safe. So when you see a highway work zone, please slow down and pay attention. Remember, that's someone's loved one out there. Be work zone alert.
Keep up with San Diego Sports 760 anytime, anywhere, whether you're stepping out of the car or settling in at home. Just ask your Google or Alexa smart speaker to play AM 760 or stream it live through the iHeartRadio app. It's never been easier to stay connected with your favorite shows like this one. San Diego Sports 760 goes where you go. We have Lainey Wilson tickets we're giving away within the next 10 minutes. A pair of tickets, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 23rd. That is 2 weeks from tonight. A Friday night show to see Lainey Wilson here in San Diego. Be listening. We will tell you when to call. Do not call right now. All right, Fan Fest tomorrow. Remember, we were at spring football event at Snapdragon back in April, which I thought was really cool. And you got to see a glimpse of what it was going to look like under Sean Lewis. And then, of course, there's been a lot of turnover because it's that era of college athletics. And you've had a lot of players come in via the portal. This is like a first look. I think not just for fans, but for the staff as well. Like, you got a couple of scrimmages in here. And unlike professional football, there is no exhibition game. Like, even in men's basketball, they can play exhibition games. In college football, there's no, hey, San Diego State play USC, even if it's behind closed doors. It doesn't exist. So you scrimmage against yourself a couple of times, and then you play for real on August 31st. So let's hear from Sean Lewis after practice today on campus at San Diego State on what we can expect to see from Fan Fest and what's going on with this quarterback battle as well.
Yeah, we're going to treat tomorrow very similar to a game, right? It'll be the first time that we get to go over and go through all of our pregame routine, and guys can feel that and be going out in all our different groupings and everything. And then we're going to have it set up to where kind of basically 4 quarters to where we'll be split on each sideline, but it'll be a great opportunity for the coaches to be in place, for the players to be able to be the only ones in between the white lines and really see what the guys know and how they're doing it. And then we'll mess around with all this new technology that we get with the tablets and the coach-to-player communication and just work through all the mechanics of that as well. So it'll be the first time that we get our hands on the tablets and be able to kind of use that in-game best we can in between the breaks that will be there in between each quarter.
In the spring, there was a lot of red zone work. Will this be more extended drives?
Yeah, this will be more open field work. We'll still prescribe some different areas of the field, but it'll be more open field work.
And then you used all 4 quarterbacks in the spring. Will this be more focused on the top 2?
It'll be more focused on the top 3. Yep.
So who would those guys be?
It'll be AJ, it'll be Danny, and it'll be Javance. They'll be getting the bulk of the work.
And we're now getting in the middle of camp. Do you think by the end of next week you'll know who your starter is and name him?
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But tomorrow's a big day.
All
right. But tomorrow, again, will be the first opportunity to where, since we've been together, where coaches are up in their positions, we'll have true game day mechanics. And again, that's another layer that we get to go through here through training camp. We'll have 3 operations of that as we go through camp with the 3 scrimmages, right? And so I'm sure there'll be some things that come up with that tomorrow, right, that we'll have to iron out and refine. And that'll impact kids differently, not just in the quarterback position, but all across the board, right, to truly know, hey, what do you know, right, when your coach is away from you? And so we'll learn a lot tomorrow with that.
All right, Sean Lewis, again, with the media after practice. They've had 6 or 7 of their 25 practices. They'll practice and scrimmage tomorrow in front of fans at Snapdragon Stadium. We mentioned it earlier, free event. Grab tickets, though. You need to grab tickets at goaztecs.com. We're broadcasting live in advance of it from 3 to 5 p.m. The notable discussion point in there, the most notable thing for me, is he said the quarterback race is between 3. We went into the fall thinking it was between A.J. Duffy, who transferred from Florida State, prepped here in Southern California, Danny O'Neal, highly sought-after recruit out of Indianapolis that initially committed to Sean Lewis at Colorado, followed him to San Diego State. Then you have Javance Johnson, who is a redshirt freshman from Oakland that is also vying right now for that job. So that is kind of, I would say, new news. Again, I think that they've always had a third, fourth, fifth quarterback on the roster, but we thought it was likely going to be between Duffy and O'Neal. That is not necessarily the case based on what Sean Lewis said today. So we'll see if Javance Johnson has an opportunity to potentially win a job at a camp as well here.
I almost wonder if he threw the third guy in there, maybe just as a push to the other two guys to show that, hey, look, it's not just between you two guys. You know, you have to be this guy too. We're going to throw in a third option to just kind of maybe, you know, just push them a little farther and just to maybe try and motivate them a little more.
You know, it's interesting because here's the thing. We talk about, like, you heard what I said there. I'm like, Duffy, you know, highly recruited player out of Southern California that ended up at Florida State. O'Neal, highly recruited, you know, however many stars out of Indianapolis. Javance Johnson, he had high level offers when he got here a year ago. At the end of the day, none of it's going to matter. It's who is better suited for the job right now, who leads the offense more effectively, who can run Sean Lewis's offense, who makes the rest of the offense better. Doesn't have to do with it. You know, you were 4-star here or 5-star here or 3-star there, or you played at San Diego State last year or you didn't, or you were in high school football last year or you weren't. I think it's fair and square here. Open competition the way you want it to be. Who wins it earns it. You know, like if you earn it, you're going to win it. It doesn't mean that whoever wins the job at a camp is the only quarterback San Diego State is going to play this year. That's obviously not the case. I mean, you I guess kind of hope that who you choose runs with it, stays healthy, stays upright, and has a successful season. But we know how college football works. I mean, there can be injuries. There can be ineffectiveness. There can be adversity that needs to be overcome. Sean Lewis has said it. It's unlike most positions in sports. There's one quarterback, right? There's multiple running backs and receivers and linebackers and so on and so forth. The one true position that only has one that can play it is the quarterback outside of specialists like kickers. So I'm going to be fascinated to see how it looks tomorrow. And again, I think most of the attention is going to be on these quarterbacks. Of course it is. And of course it is under a Sean Lewis offense where he's known for his play calling and his offensive design and his creativity, right? So a lot of the attention is going to be on the quarterbacks, but it's about so much more than that when you have a roster where half of it is turned over since last season and you have newcomers with returning veterans and you have players via the portal and you have players coming out of the high school ranks as well. So I think not only will we learn a lot tomorrow, I think the coaching staff learns a lot tomorrow. And that's the whole point here of the ramp up of these 25 practices, because 3 weeks from tomorrow, they're playing Texas A&M Commerce, and there's no do-overs. And I mean, it's 0-0, right? So you have to find a way to win that game. When you look at the schedule that San Diego State is presented with this year, I'm so excited for the schedule. I think Sean Lewis is as well. And you got the, Boise States, and you have the Cals and Oregon States and Washington States, but it's a challenging schedule, right? Like, we should be fair and realistic. It's a challenging schedule. So knowing that, a lot like I think we said last year, like you got to win the games you are supposed to win, quote unquote. And you got to beat, obviously, Texas A&M Commerce in that opener coming up August 31st. That game, by the way, is a 5 p.m. start. Of course, you can hear it right here on San Diego Sports 760. Our pregame coverage will begin 3 weeks from tomorrow at 3 p.m. I can't wait to be on the call with Rich Orenberger. It's going to be awesome. And, of course, you can hear San Diego State football and basketball right here on the home of the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760 throughout the course of 2024 and beyond. So we'll see. I'm excited. I think Aztec fans are excited. We're curious. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow. And then, of course, from tomorrow to the next scrimmage, from that scrimmage to the next scrimmage till August 31st. All right. Why don't we do this? We're going to do it in a moment. Here's what we're going to do on the other side, by the way. Who's starting for Team USA tomorrow in the gold medal game? Will Kevin Durant start or not? He's been coming off the bench. Now that we've gotten to the gold medal game, is Kevin Durant going to start for Team USA? Winner gets the gold tomorrow in Paris between France and Team USA. We have the latest on Kevin Durant. Does he come off the bench or will he start? We'll have that for you coming up on the other side. We'll keep you updated, obviously, on Padres and Marlins, but call right now if you want those free tickets to see Lainey Wilson at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. This is coming up on August 23rd. Caller 3, you'll have 2 free tickets. Great act, Lainey Wilson, 2 weeks from tonight at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Call right now if you want those tickets. The number to call is 877-767-4760. Again, 877-767-4760. 2 free tickets to see Lainey Wilson at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 23rd, 2 weeks from tonight. One more time, the number to call, 877-767-4760. Caller 3, those are your tickets. An update on Team USA. Will Kevin Durant start or not? Plus, updates throughout the course of the afternoon on Padres and Marlins. And your text, by the way, 70470. Start your message with the word team. We continue here, hour 2 of Jon and Jim next. That's a good question. We'll get into the 5 o'clock hour. Should the Padres extend Mike Shildt, how they played here in 2024? If you missed our conversation with San Diego State men's basketball assistant Dave Velasquez, we'll play back for you as well. Coming up at 5:30, more realignment on the horizon. We'll talk about that in the 5 o'clock hour. But Kevin Durant, we have the latest on KD as Team USA is a day out from the gold medal game against Team France in Paris. So Shams reporting at this hour that Team USA will start Kevin Durant for Jrue Holiday. So Kevin Durant will start. Remember, in the lead up, he was hurt. He's obviously been huge for this team. He's been coming off its bench. He will start against France. So they will switch it up, surviving against Serbia. Kevin Durant will start tomorrow for a gold medal. What's your reaction?
I would have left him on the bench.
Just keep doing what you're doing. He's played well off the bench.
It's not that. It's just Kerr's been almost doing substitutions like a hockey lineup because he's going in groups. So it's like Group A will go out there and then Group B. He's not just doing, okay, AD, you go in for, Joel, and then, that's it. He's doing it like a line change in hockey almost. That second group needs scoring, and they were getting the scoring from Durant. So I'm worried that that's going to put more pressure on Anthony Edwards and some of those other younger guys on the second team, especially if, the quote A team, starts out slow like they did against Serbia, to where, I don't want Anthony Edwards out there just chucking up threes because he thinks he has to because they're down. I trust and have more faith in Kevin Durant just with his experience and everything else. And I don't know. I want somebody like him in that second lineup. And honestly, once it comes down to like the final 2 minutes of the game, if Kerr does like he did against Serbia, he'll throw out his line change theory and then just put in whoever needs to be in
to win the game. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so again, the report is that they'll switch it up, right? Kevin Durant to start. That's sources. We haven't officially heard that as of yet or not, but that is what Shams is reporting at The Athletic tonight, that KD will start. Jrue Holiday is going to come off the bench. Holiday started the last couple of games. Durant hasn't yet started in the Olympics. Now, in that comeback, Durant played 24 of the 40 minutes, only scored 9 points. 7 though in the fourth quarter. Obviously, that's the thing. I mean, listen, the crunch time you're getting KD, but I understand the merits of the argument that we need to get off to a much better start. Like, if you put yourself in the exact same spot where you go down 17 points in France against Team France for a gold with everything on the line, I don't love those odds. Like that should not be part of the strategy tomorrow. Hey, we're Team USA. We can come back from any deficit. We're going to do it again. That if you go down 17 again, you're asking for trouble.
The only thing I could think of, if I'm in the mind of Steve Kerr, is if I'm going to take Holiday out and put Durant in, I'm taking out defense and passing for scoring. So he's pretty much saying that he thinks that they need more scoring in that starting lineup. And to a way, I think it could work because they're going to focus a lot on Steph Curry, especially since he went off on the last game. And they're going to focus, of course, on LeBron. So, are we going to have Durant out there as an extra shooter then? Because they're going to focus so much on Steph that he's going to get a lot of wide open shots, that they're more confident in him hitting those opposed to Jrue Holiday.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be again tactically good question. I have no idea really what Team France even looks like beyond Wemby and some of their young players.
Rudy Gobert and Evan, I can never say his name, Fourier, or they're the only other guys on the team.
I can't even concern myself with that right now. I just know that there's a hill to climb here. You're playing for a gold medal against a team that's playing in its home nation, and again, you can get off to a poor start against Serbia, and they found a way to win. I would not try to follow that same route here again and plan on necessarily coming out on top against France come tomorrow. KD, by the way, is trying to become the first basketball player in U.S. history with 4 golds. So he's got 3. He's the all-time leading scorer, men's or women's, for Team USA in the Olympics. He scored over 500 career points. So it kind of makes sense. I mean, going for a fourth gold, Kevin Durant, who's been arguably your best player, will be in the lineup potentially as the starter in the starting lineup tomorrow per Shams at The Athletic here tonight.
I wonder too, since Durant's going to be in the starting lineup, is Jason Tatum going to actually play then?
I have no idea. I mean, that's what they said also. Like Drew Holiday, I was just reading about it. Like he started the last 2 games, and then he's had games in group play where he didn't even play.
Well, they did that a couple times in group play.
Yeah. So I mean, again, they're more than deep enough. To me, tomorrow is not at all about your depth. It's a 40-minute game. You've played 5 games in the last 2 weeks. Like go with the girl you brought to the dance, so to speak. If LeBron needs to play another 6 minutes, he's better play those 6 minutes. Same thing with Steph and KD. You can up these guys' minutes from 24 to 30 tomorrow.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where, tomorrow's game 7 of the finals. There's no game 8, so you have nothing really to rest up for. So just go out there and leave everything on the floor. You're still going to have, 2 months to rest up before the NBA season. So just go out there and give them hell.
And get off to a good start tomorrow against Team France. All right, on the other side, I thought that was a really interesting conversation there with Marty and Dennis Lin. Marty's been doing a great job with those daily features. Should the Padres extend Mike Shildt, considering the success they're having right now in 2024? Also, is more realignment on the horizon? The latest with the ACC and Florida State, what it eventually means for schools out west, including San Diego State. Plus, we'll hear from Dave Velasquez coming up at 5:30, Aztecs longtime men's basketball assistant. We'll kick off hour 3 of Jon and Jim, and we'll do it next.
This report is sponsored by your San Diego area BMW centers. Jim Harbaugh today was named to be Michigan's honorary captain for their home opener on August 31st against Fresno State. Of course, earlier this week, the NCAA announced a 4-year show cause penalty for Harbaugh for contact with recruits and players, while access was restricted during the pandemic, effectively banning him from coaching college football again until 2028. The Padres and the Marlins are going at it right now in Miami. It is currently 2-0 Marlins in the bottom of the fourth. It's Martin Perez on the hill for the Padres and Edward Cabrera going for the Fish. There's used, there's certified, and then there's BMW certified. And now through September 3rd, take advantage of no payments for 3 months on all 2019 through 2022 BMW certified models. See a San Diego County BMW Center today for details or visit sdcountybmw.com.
Yeah, I'll say it. The hottest team in baseball. The Padres roll into South Beach today after a sweep in Pittsburgh. We'll keep an eye on the game and give you the latest. Plus, is a Joe Musgrove return coming soon? Kicking off the weekend in the drive home, here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 3, Jon and Jim here for the next hour. We'll be at FanFest outside Snapdragon Stadium tomorrow afternoon from 3 to 5. Hopefully you can join us on the radio or say hi. FanFest starts at 5, free event. Ticket to goaztecs.com. We'll lead you up to it for 2 hours, 3 to 5 tomorrow. Sean Lewis, J.D. Wicker, others will swing by. Myself, Jonathan Rifkin will be on the air. So hopefully you'll be listening in tomorrow. If you're an Aztec fan, hopefully swing by Snapdragon Stadium tomorrow as well, tomorrow afternoon. So Brenna, the update for you. Padres and Marlins underway here in the opener of their 3-game series. Martin Perez, a bit of the story for Martin Perez in his career, and as Brent just told you, the Marlins have hit consecutive solo home runs off of Perez in the fourth, one of them Jake Berger, and it's 2-0, and they're not done yet in the fourth inning. One of the stories of Perez's career is that his numbers dip as he goes through a lineup more often. So like first time through a lineup, this is commonplace.
I'd say that's common.
But they're exaggerated splits, so to speak. First time through, I think this year, first time through a lineup, his ERA is sub 3. And then all of a sudden, second time through, it shoots up to, I'm making it up, like 4.5. And then third time through, it shoots up to like 6.5 or 7. In his career, it's similar. He's a 3.5 ERA guy first time through, then it's high 4s, then it's high 5s. So here's the thing, though. On a night like tonight, he's got to give you length. He's got to wear it, so to speak. Not that he's wearing it. It's 2-0. It's not 10-0. But all you do is use your bullpen on this road trip. You can't turn to your bullpen in the fourth inning here tonight. It's just not an option, considering where they are with things. They're making moves, optioning Johnny Brito up, sending Randy Vasquez down. They made a move yesterday. So he's got to give him some amount of length. He doesn't have to go 7 innings, but he's going to have to find a way to go hopefully 5+ innings here tonight. The good news, if there is any, because again, the Padres haven't scored. They look a little, I don't know, lifeless so far, but it's only the fourth inning. The good news is we've seen it before. We've seen the Padres go down a couple of runs, and we've seen them win these games. So can they do it again? Can they find another way to overcome a multiple run deficit, something that has been a trend of theirs throughout the course of the 2024 season? It's kind of fitting, of course, heading into the third hour, Brent, we're like, hey, should you extend Mike Shildt? And then over our 5-minute break, they give up a couple of home runs. They're trailing the Marlins right now.
No, fire him.
Exactly.
I'm joking. Calm down.
Yeah, exactly. Like people overreact to every single thing. So here's what I would say about extending Mike Shildt. Do you need to do it now?
No.
So that's why you don't do it. That's the answer to the question. It doesn't need to be done right now. It just doesn't need to be done. So, I don't think you do it. Again, it's like in Major League Baseball, Mike Shildt, I think he's, he turned 56 today. He's the second-time manager. Like, is there going to be all this attention on him after the year? I mean, I guess depending on what the Padres do, should they make the postseason and what they do in the postseason. I think if you're the Padres, if you're AJ Preller, if you're Eric Encenda, you wait this thing out. There's no hurry here. It's probably like what we said earlier this year about Jackson Merrill. Like, you got Merrill under control for years. Of course, you want to have him potentially in a Padres uniform long-term, but it doesn't have to be done today. It doesn't have to be done tomorrow. It truthfully doesn't have to be done in 2024. Probably doesn't have to be done in 2025. Now, Profar at the end of the season, maybe before the end of the season, maybe you want to lock him up. There's going to be interest. He's having a great year. I think with Mike Shildt, you can probably slow play it, but based on all indications, Brent, based on the way the team is playing, I mean, there's a very good chance he's going to earn or deserve, that third year, get an extension off of this.
Yeah, it's, you worry about the guys that, are done at the end of this year. Like you said, worry about Profar, Shildt, we don't have to worry about it yet. If we get to the playoffs and we, have a good run or something, and then after the season you want to extend them or something, that's fine. But, I don't think that should be their main priority. I think, re-signing Profar should be, the main priority. It's one of the things with the Padres that I don't get, to where, it's like Tatis and some of these guys will have them under control for like 4 years. And everyone's like, well, we got to go sign them now. It's like, well, we don't actually have to sign them now. That's what having them under control for 4 years means, is that we have flexibility, but everyone just wants to do it now, and get everyone locked in. So I don't know. We don't need to lock him in yet right away, because what do you think is going to happen if we get him locked in? Then everyone's going to be like, oh, now we're stuck with him. So let's just give it some time.
You have to give it time. I'll give you an example as to why. In 2020, the Padres made the postseason under first-year manager Jayce Tingler. In 2021, they started really well. Something like, we've talked about it. They were 67-49 at one point that year. They were 18 games over 500. They were trending in the right direction. It was around this time of year. I think it was August 10th. So this late in the year, and I think AJ Preller told Marty in an on-field conversation, we think he's a decade-long manager here. And then the thing spiraled out of control. So you can never fully be certain. Now, Shilt's got more experience, obviously, than Jayce Tingler did. But that was Tingler in his second season, having success. Yeah, exactly. But, he had success in 2020. He had success in the first half of 2021. There's no hurry here. As good as it is right now, we don't know what the other side looks like. We don't know what happens over the next 6 or 7 weeks. We're optimistic. We're encouraged, but we don't know what's going to happen. So let's see this thing out. Let's see what happens. Now, I would say this. I wouldn't determine an extension on Mike Shildt based on what happens in the postseason. I think a lot of people will or would. If this team gets to the postseason, plays this type of baseball, wins 88, 89, 90, potentially even more games, that to me is deserving of an extension. But let's just see the thing fully play out over the next 40-something games. It's not that many games. We'll have all the answers we need in less than 2 months. And, you'll wait out the postseason, hopefully, because hopefully the Padres will be in it as well. But, I mean, listen, I credit Mike Shildt a ton. Like, I think we've been very complimentary of what he's done on field. We've obviously taken shots at some of the comments he's made with the media.
Yeah, that's kind of been stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of been, part of the shtick of the show. And I think a lot of people have had similar thoughts on some of the things he said over the course of the year. You can't take any shots right now because every string he's pulled has worked out. It's been a thing of beauty, really, for weeks on end at this point, and let's hope that continues.
Yeah, and he's, he hasn't really had much to get snippy about lately either. That was kind of his thing in mid-year. It's like, oh, hey, what happened today? You guys lost a game. Just asking a general question. Like, well, I'm offended by that. Like the whole roller coaster thing where you got offended by it and stuff like that. And he doesn't have a lot to be offended by lately.
No, he doesn't. He really doesn't. And, where he gets a lot of the credit is a year ago, we talked a lot about clubhouse and culture, which are so important. I mean, culture is so critically important. I heard Sean Lewis talk about it today during his press conference coming off the field. And he's like, culture really does matter. All FBS football programs in the country right now are going through fall camp. So what's the difference between San Diego State's fall camp and whomever else's fall camp? But what's a differentiating factor is, what you're doing, like what your staff is doing with your players, like what you're building internally and externally, the culture that's being created. We've talked about it before with San Diego State men's basketball, this unbelievable sustained culture they've had and what that has meant for the sustainability of the program. With the Padres, it's been up and down. That's wins and losses. I'm not saying it's been up and down with culture, but obviously it's been different because you've had 4 or 5 managers basically over the last 6 or 7 years. So like things haven't been consistent. It would be nice if they can have, 3 years of consistency with one voice from their manager and build that cohesiveness and build up that culture potentially under Mike Shildt. Again, I don't think it's the end all be all. It's not everything, but it's absolutely something. And you can tell that the culture they've established this year is at least better than what it was a year ago.
Yeah, you want consistency. It's kind of like, if, I'll use Caleb Williams for instance, if Caleb Williams, in his first 4 years with the Bears has 3 head coaches and 4 offensive coordinators and no consistency, it's going to hurt. And, it's the same way with just, managers. And we always joked about how, do they even have a hitting coach and stuff like that, to where if they can just maybe just get some consistency, with the manager spot, opposed to, it kind of seems like every 2 years, it's like, oh, we love this guy this year. And then the next year it's like, oh yeah, we don't love him no more. And then they want to get rid of him. So it would be nice if we could just get some consistency here. And then maybe, we'll get the dreaded C word that Manny didn't like of culture, and just get that going. But it's hard to get a culture going when you sort of have a every 2-year revolving door of coaches and managers.
What do you guys think, by the way? Should the Padres extend Mike Shildt now, later, wait it out? 70470, you can start your message with the word team. Again, 70470, you can start it with the word team, or you can call us 877-767-4760. That is 877-767-4760. Is more realignment on the horizon or not? We'll get into that on the other side. There is news in the ACC with Florida State. We'll see what impact that has on the West potentially. And Dave Velasquez, he caught up with us earlier, San Diego State longtime assistant. If you missed that conversation, we'll catch up with Dave Velasquez coming up at 5:30. We have Brent's back page still ahead. And iHeartRadio is the exclusive audio home of NBC's coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympics. And this NBC Olympic Report is brought to you by Islands Restaurants, your local paradise. All right. Hey, guys, it is Schaefer, and great news for homeowners. Mortgage rates tanking. My friends at Loan Pronto have rates that start with a 4. That's the best rate in years. Listen, if your current rate is over 6%, you can dump it and lower your house payment big time. Loan Pronto has locked in folks recently at 4.99% APR. Whether you got your loan last week, maybe you got it last month or last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto. Even if you're in the process with another lender right now, stop now and call Loan Pronto. Ask about their zero-cost rate reduction home loan. You can lock in a lower rate with no closing costs in a matter of days, with almost no paperwork and usually no appraisal. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call now. Loan Pronto can give you a rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Here's the number to call, 619-207-4336, or you can go to loanpronto.com. That's 619-207-4336. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. All right, back on Jon and Jim here until 6 p.m. If you missed our conversation with San Diego State men's basketball assistant Dave Velasquez, we'll have that for you coming up in about 12 minutes. Again, that reminder, we will be at FanFest tomorrow outside Snapdragon Stadium. Myself, Jonathan Rifkin. We will be joined by Sean Lewis, J.D. Wicker, and others. 3 to 5, broadcasting live outside Snapdragon Stadium right here on San Diego Sports 760. Please come by, say hello. It's a free event, but you need to grab tickets at goaztecs.com. Again, we'll get you ready for it 3 weeks out from San Diego State's opener. We'll get you ready tomorrow from 3 to 5. All right. The reason I wanted to mention this is obviously we spent so much time on realignment a couple of years ago. We know how it's all played out. It never ends. The latest real story with realignment, and it's played out for a number of months now, is Florida State, this FBS college football power historically, and also Clemson, they want out of the ACC to the point that they've been in court with the league for months on end. I don't know if a resolution's in sight or not, but this from Ross Dellinger at Yahoo today. Sources, Florida State and the ACC to begin mediation over potential exit. That's the headline. Now, the courts have forced them to a mediator. They haven't gone to a mediator themselves, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like you're forced to do it, right? You're forced to get in the room with someone. You don't want to get in the room with someone, but you're forced to get in the room. Now, what does it mean? We're going to find out, I guess, in the weeks and months ahead. Apparently, mediation can take, according to the article, days, weeks, or even months, but normally does include a deadline. So Florida State has been hell-bent on leaving the ACC. And you may ask yourself why. And let me retort with this: money. Because the Big Ten and SEC are running away from even the other power leagues in their TV revenue. ACC and Big 12 cannot keep up with the Big Ten and the SEC. Therefore, Florida State wants to put themselves in a better leverage situation. I don't know if they can get to the SEC. I don't know if they can get to the Big Ten. I don't know if they can get a better deal in the Big 12 or as an independent. But for whatever reason right now, the rich are getting richer. It's not including Florida State. Therefore, they're willing to potentially spend tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, to get out in an effort to give themselves more financial flexibility moving forward.
Yeah, they're falling behind because they're in serious danger of being surpassed by the Big 12 and the new look Big 12, if you want to call it that, with Cal and all these other teams that don't really belong. Well, Cal's in the ACC, but a lot of the new teams that are just in the Big 12. I think that if I get why the ACC doesn't want them to go, because those are their two biggest schools that are left, other than Miami, maybe Carolina, but they're kind of they're not as consistent as Florida State and Clemson and some of these other ones, to where it's like, every 2-3 years Carolina will put out a good team. Other than that, they're just kind of okay.
Yeah, you're right. The football brands of the ACC, the biggest ones, whether you like it or not, are Florida State. They've won national championships, a number of them. Clemson, they've won national championships.
And to a lesser degree,
and Miami. But again, it's been a longer period of time for Miami to sustain success. So I guess the question is this, and there's no guarantees in this. We've seen this play out in crazy manners over the years. But under the assumption where they've spent months in court and they spent millions on legal fees and they don't want to fall further behind, and they fear that's happening as the years progress and the TV money keeps going up for the Big Ten and the SEC, but not as much for the ACC and the Big 12. If Florida State and Clemson leave the ACC, then what? What happens for the Atlantic Coast Conference? Remember, they've added Cal, Stanford, and SMU. We played John Canzano earlier this week. He said, keep an eye on Oregon State, Washington State, and San Diego State if that were to play out. He was spitballing, right? This wasn't like source reporting. And also, if Florida State and Clemson get out, do other programs in the ACC follow? So does the league get blown up like the Pac-12 kind of got blown up? So these are the things that I think people are at least pondering, considering, wondering. And I don't know. It's not playing out in the immediate, like 2025. But again, there's seismic shifts happening right now. 2026, we don't know what the expanded playoff is going to look like. We've got this House settlement. I'm just expecting more movement because I've watched it right in front of our eyes, all this movement over the last handful of years.
If I'm the ACC, I would be worried, kind of like what you said, of, say they lose Clemson and Florida State. I'd be worried about the Big 12, the Big 10, and the SEC coming to pick the scraps of what's left of the ACC, like they all did with the Pac-12. And because, yeah, granted, in a lot of ways they're similar to Nebraska, to where, it's not 89 anymore. They're not as relevant as they used to be, but they're still relevant for, being in Florida and a big recruiting pipeline. So, all three of those conferences, I think, would go after Miami. I think they would go after Carolina. And I think
once it's blown up.
And I think it would be Pac-12, part 2, to where, all the other schools are going to just start hovering around the ACC like a bunch of vultures. And then they're just going to just start, grabbing schools here, grabbing schools there. And then next thing, the vaunted ACC of, Charlie Ward and, all these, great histories, and it's just going to be like the Pac-12. There's going to be 2 teams left in there, that the 2 teams nobody wanted, essentially.
Honestly, it's like, for some, it's a worst possible scenario. For others, it's like you kind of want chaos. If you've followed the arc of Oregon State, Washington State, or some of the stories around programs that were trying to get in the Power 5, like San Diego State, sometimes quote unquote chaos can be beneficial, other times not. When we heard about USC and UCLA, there was a lot of potential opportunity for a program like San Diego State. Then we saw what happened here on the other side. It didn't fully come to fruition. But right now, Oregon State and Washington State on this island, so to speak, they want chaos, because if Florida State and Clemson leave and maybe the ACC stays intact, the ACC is like, they're calling, hey, we lost a couple. Are you willing to come join? We've already got programs in Northern California. Hey, we could use you now in the Pacific Northwest. So again, the music hasn't stopped, is my point. It's like musical chairs. Florida State and Clemson are fighting in court to leave the ACC. Are they really staying long term? If they're fighting in court with dollars and cents to leave the ACC, are they really staying long term, or is the writing on the wall and we're just waiting for a when? When are they leaving? Is it 2025, 2026, or beyond? All right, we'll continue that conversation, I'm sure, in the months ahead. On the other side, Dave Velasquez, San Diego State men's basketball assistant, on the state of the Aztecs heading into 2024-25. In addition to that, we have Brent's back page still to come as well. We're here until 6 p.m. Don't go anywhere. It's Jon and Jim.
This report is sponsored by Evans Tire and Service. Walk in or book online at evanstire.com. In college football news, Jim Harbaugh, believe it or not, was named today to be Michigan's honorary captain for their home opener against Fresno State on August 31st. Earlier this week, of course, the NCAA announced a 4-year show cause penalty for Harbaugh for having contact with recruits and players while access was restricted during the pandemic, and effectively banning him from coaching college football again until 2028. Right now in Miami, the Padres are taking on the Marlins. It is currently 2-0 Marlins going into the bottom of the 6th. It was Martin Perez going for the Padres and Edward Cabrera going for the Fish. Now at Evans Tire and Service Centers, save $80 instantly on a set of 4 Kumosolis TA51 tires. Optional 6-month deferred financing available with the Evans Tire credit card. Walk-ins welcome, or schedule online at evanstire.com.
Jon and Jim Friday afternoon. Jim will be back next week. When? Who knows? But he will be back next week. Back page ahead. Brent's back page for Jim's back page ahead. If you missed it earlier, Dave Velasquez, longtime successful men's basketball assistant on the Mesa. Summer workouts have concluded. Fall, getting ready for the season. They'll pick it back up in a couple of weeks. So we started the conversation with Coach Velasquez asking about how the summer has gone for SDSU hoops.
First of all, I appreciate you guys having me as always. The summer's been great. I think this year's been a lot different just in terms of not having as many returners as usual, but at the same time, we have a lot of returning guys that have contributed and helped us win a lot of basketball games, and they've stepped up in terms of letting the new guys know, in terms of freshmen transfers. This is the fun part of the year where you get to all get together, learn each other, strengths, weaknesses, which we all have, and kind of just figure it all out as we go along. And it's been a great summer. The guys worked really hard, so it's been fun.
Dave Velasquez, again, San Diego State men's basketball assistant, with us right now on Jon and Jim. What are the takeaways, or what are you hoping to learn about a team this early? I mean, you still have months before your season starts. So what do you work on specifically, or what are the motivations and goals this time of year?
Well, the first thing you got to start with is, what's the standard at San Diego State? What do we expect? That's the number one thing. And, and everybody comes from different places, and that's just the world of college basketball. And we've been in the transfer world forever. We didn't just start with this new portal thing. We've been doing it since we got to San Diego State, and since Coach Fisher and Dutcher got here 25 years ago. They've been great with transfers on explaining early on what the standard is here, what they expect, and then after that, you're just trying to kind of mold the guys and the pieces together, because what you see on film is not always what you see on the floor, and you kind of make sure that where can we put this guy to meet this guy's strength, and where can this guy pick up for this guy's deficiency. And so again, the summer is always great to, like I said, learn who the new guys are, and then hopefully for the guys that are coming back. And we have a lot of guys. We have 3 or 4 guys that really helped us win games last year that we're expecting a lot out of, moving forward. And, talking specifically about Miles Bird, Reese Waters, and Miles Heide. Those guys are really good players, and we expect them to take a huge jump. So there's a lot of things going on during this summer, but at the same time, you have enough time before November before our first game to figure it all out.
No doubt about it. So you mentioned Reese Waters, who will enter his second year with the program. Miles Bird, of course, has been here into now his 3rd season, was part of that national championship team on the roster a couple of seasons ago. What have been the discussions with Reese off year one, with the highs and the lows, the adversity? What do you hope to see from Reese as he gets ready for year 2 here at San Diego State?
I mean, every time you step on the floor, be the best player on the floor. That's kind of the mindset, and also to believe in every shot you take, you're going to make, and be as confident in yourself as we are in you. And he's done a really good job defensively on learning our concepts and helping the new guys along. And but yeah, we're expecting a lot out of Reese, and there's pressure that comes with that. And as we move forward, and as the season starts to come along, we'll try to do the best we can as coaches to put him in the best positions to be successful. But Reese knows this is a huge year for him. And last year wasn't always smooth sailing, and no year's ever it's going to be smooth sailing throughout the way. But Reese is the guy that, every day I walk into the gym, I expect the when Reese is at Gonzaga, I think he had 25 points at Gonzaga. That's the Reese I expect to see, and that's the Reese, that's the standard that we're going to hold him to this upcoming year, and that's the standard he holds himself to. So he's worked really, really hard. He's in elite shape right now, and he's shooting the ball at an elite level. So just got to continue that as the next couple months go, and like I said, as the season approaches, this is his year. It's a huge year for him.
No doubt about it. Dave Velasquez with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. You mentioned transfers have been a part of the program for a long time. We're now in this portal era. It's just a mainstay across the sport. So what's the acclimation process been like for some of these veteran newcomers, right? Jared Coleman-Jones, Nick Boyd from FAU, Wayne McKinney from Crosstown at USD. How have they acclimated?
They've been great because they're unbelievable humans. They're great people.
Yep.
They fit in really well with who we all are, how we carry ourselves, how we approach every day. We work really hard, never entitled. Those guys came from programs, they 3 completely different style of programs, different background in college basketball, but they've done a really, really good job of just trying to fit into San Diego State, but at the same time, trying to show how hard they work. Jared Jones, he's lost 20 pounds since he got here. And that's not something easy to do in the summertime, and he's worked his butt off, and he's been great. He's in elite shape again, like I talked about with Reese, and Nick's been awesome. He's an unbelievable vocal leader for us, which we need, and especially from that point guard position. And then Wayne McKinney, just he's a lot of people in San Diego will recognize him from his USD days, but he just the way he defends, the way he goes about his business, his characters through the roof, and all their characters are through the roof in terms of just who they are as people, and so. It's been great. They've really done a good job of fitting into who we are culture-wise and holding up to the standard that we expect out of all our guys.
Have you sensed, I know you have, just being obviously with the program day in and day out, you sense the chatter that goes on with a player like Magoon Guath, a little bit like a backup quarterback, honestly, in the NFL or college football. There's all this excitement, and people have seen bits and pieces of him, but they've never really seen him on the floor unless they've been a part of an Aztec practice. And it feels like the expectation, people are like, oh, this guy's going to average 30 points and 30 rebounds. People have these crazy high expectations for a guy that's never played college basketball. He'll be a redshirt freshman. So I guess I'll ask it like this for our listeners. What have you seen from Magoon, and how do you think it will translate when he does get on the floor on the Mesa?
Well, as a coach, and I'll just speak for myself, sometimes the hype is not always the best thing for a young guy like that. He's unbelievable. He has so many talents and a skill set that is hard to teach. A lot of the stuff he does, you just recruit. First of all, he's 7 feet. He plays like a guard. He can shoot the ball. He can play all over the floor. He's an incredible, incredible rim protection. His timing on block shots is through the roof. However, with that said, is what you said, Jon. It's you got to temper the enthusiasm a little bit, but at the same time, understand that's not the kid's fault, if you will, for all the great excitement around him, because he hasn't played across the street. And with all that being said, we're going to expect a lot out of him because this is a huge year for him. He has all the intangibles to be an incredible player, an all-league guy, a guy that could be another one of those ones that we talk about 3-4 years from now about he made it. He made the dream come true, and he works so hard, and he's so young, and he's such a great kid that it's that he's just going to continue to get better and better and better. And he's done that since the day he steps on campus and fighting all the injuries, and it's well documented now, showing up with 2 broken ankles and fighting through it and playing through it. And now this is his turn. This is going to be his time. But as coaches, we all know you got to be patient. I'll never forget when we had Kawhi as a freshman and all the hype surrounding him, and it took him time. It takes time for young guys to kind of get used to college basketball, no matter where it is. And I know Magoon's going to be great for us. And, as coaches, we've been through it before, and, we're going to help him throughout the process, no matter what.
So speaking of young players, first of all, your freshmen don't look like freshmen, which is I feel as if it's a compliment. But then again, they are a freshman in age. You can't change your, when you're 17, you're 17, or when you're 18, you're 18. But Pharaoh Compton looks the part, big, imposing, physical. Taj DeGorville, the guard, is, he is a big guard with his height and his athleticism. Obviously, you have others part of that freshman class as well. Thak Majok is on campus as well right now. What have you seen from these freshmen? Because you're going to count on some of these players from day one, right?
Oh, there's no doubt. The number one thing with freshmen, when you get them when they're young, is you kind of got to see in the summer, are you going to be able to rely on them in November and December, or where's their process going to be? And by this point, with both those guys, we expect them to be a part of the rotation. We expect them to be a part of our team, a big part of our team this year. And yeah, like you said, they don't measure like freshmen. Let's just say it that way. They came in and their physical was crazy just to see their wingspan and how big they are compared to other freshmen. But they have the mindset though too. These guys are really accomplished basketball players before they got here. They lost in the championship game, but Pete Sham last year, they both were huge contributors on that team. They both had major roles. So they understand what winning is. They know what it takes to win. You play against the best players at that level for their age. So we're expecting a lot out of them, and they've been great, but they're freshmen. So you don't know what you don't know. And the freshmen, they're continuing to learn. Everything they hear from us is brand new to them. So it's been fun to coach them and see how hungry they are, how bad they want it, how much film they want to watch, how much they want to learn. They've been awesome this summer, and we can't wait to see them get on that floor in November.
One more before you go, and I know the non-conference schedule isn't fully out, but obviously over the years, you've always challenged yourselves. I think about some of these recent years, some of the schedules that have been put together, and likely that's occurring again this year, reportedly with this NIL tournament. We know there's a home and home with Gonzaga with them expected to come here to Viejas Arena. You played Cal last year. It's reported that you're playing a neutral site game in Northern California against Cal as well. What will you learn about the team in the months ahead, specifically in the non-conference, to get you ready for Mountain West play?
Well, you never have the answers, even in December. And that's one of the Coach Dutcher's biggest strengths is how good his teams get throughout the season. And his winning percentage in February is well documented. But there's a reason for that. You don't panic if it doesn't go great early, or if it does go great, you don't say, "Oh my, we have all the answers." You just continue to get better, and our schedule is going to set us up to have great success in the Mountain West. And that's all we try to do is challenge ourselves. If we recruit and brand ourselves as a marquee program, you have to have a marquee schedule, and that's what we do every single year in and year out. And again, this is not going to be any different. And San Diego State fans are going to have a lot to be excited about and have a lot of great games to watch in November, December before Mountain West Conference play starts.
Can't wait. It's coming. Again, we've got football in 3 weeks, Fan Fest tomorrow. We've got San Diego State basketball the first week of November. Dave Velasquez, longtime assistant on the Mesa. Appreciate you doing it, man. We'll do it again later on this summer into the fall, all right?
Appreciate you guys having me. Go ahead.
All right, Dave Velasquez, always great to connect with him. All the successes over the years, he's been a part of it on the Mesa. All right, on the other side, Brent's back page. Jim is out. He's coming back next week. An update from Miami as well, where the Marlins and Padres are well underway. Plus, Brent's back page. Don't go anywhere. I was used more often a week without Jim. That wasn't too bad, was it? He'll be back, coming back from Italy. He was at a wedding this weekend. He's been in Switzerland. We can call him Swiss Jim. Back next week from his first ever trip to Europe. I think his first time out of the country. No, his second, because he was in Mexico earlier this year with Aaron. Without Aaron, Jim would be here every single day, but he's got Aaron now. So now he's a jet setter. So Jim will be back next week. Of course, come Monday, we'll recap the series in Miami, and we will look ahead to Monday night. Padres back home against the Pirates. Joe Musgrove's return. It's been a couple of months, but Joe Musgrove will return for the Padres on Monday, reportedly, or that's the expectation. He's the probable. Meanwhile, in Miami, Marlins holding a 2-0 lead on the Padres in the opening game of a 3-game series. They're in the 7th inning, so the Padres offense has not yet come to life. They've had a lot of opportunities in this game. We'll see if they've got some late heroics in store. They trail right now, again, 2-0 in the 7th inning. And while we have a moment, typically it's Jim's back page. Let's get to it.
Now, I was going to include this in yesterday's back page, but I forgot until I got home and saw the picture on my phone that was supposed to remind me of it. You're a big Dave Matthews guy, right?
Huge. I mean, when I was young, I've seen him like 35 times at least.
Well, yesterday was the 20-year anniversary of a notorious Dave Matthews Band incident. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Notorious incident. So it would have been in 2004, a notorious Dave Matthews.
In Chicago.
I really don't.
Yesterday was the 20-year anniversary since the driver of the Dave Matthews Band tour bus made a disgusting mistake at the Chicago River when the driver hit the eject button on the septic tank on the bus while it was driving on the Kinsey Street Bridge, sending 800 pounds of human waste through the metal grates on the deck and right down onto people taking an architectural tour boat cruise on the river below.
I've never heard of that.
Really?
Never.
Oh, that was all over the news when it happened.
I don't know where I was.
Yeah, because the bus driver hit the wrong button and he emptied the septic tank on the tour bus, and it went right through the grates and landed on a boat full of people taking an architectural tour.
Is that why they named an album Before These Crowded Streets?
Might have been if it was after 2004, because there's more than 100 passengers were on that boat.
Wow.
2004.
I've never heard of that. That's unbelievable. The more you know. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I can't believe you never heard that.
I can't believe that.
That's like I always think of that when I think of Dave Matthews Band.
That's ridiculous.
You know, I'm not the biggest Dave Matthews person. I like Satellite and a couple other songs, but it's like, this is what I think of when I think of Dave Matthews.
That's hilarious.
Is their bus driver dropping the poo on the people on the river. In other news, would you go to a Taco Bell retirement community?
Did Jim talk about this earlier in the year? If we discussed this, is this in San Diego? It's like a pop-up retirement community?
Yes, but it's not really for real retirees.
Okay, so what do you do?
It's the Taco Bell is giving their first look at their, quote, early retirement community, which is going to be coming to San Diego later this month in a couple weeks. The experience is completely sold out for the August 17th through 18th event, where Taco Bell rewards members can drink by the pool, engage in low-impact senior-inspired sports like golf, pickleball, croquet, and I think that's bocce ball, to name a few. But they said it's designed to, to get the younger crowd to, quote, embrace their inner old by living Moss during the day and going to bed at 8 o'clock at night. Funny. But they dropped the itinerary for what you'll be doing if you're one of these, I don't know if we call them lucky, but you're one of these people that get to go hang out at the Taco Bell community thing. You're going to start your day off at 10 a.m. with a little pickleball and drinks.
Like the iHeartRadio pickleball tournament.
Yeah, exactly. It's going around. And then at noon, you got some lunch. And then at 1, you got the Carnitas Croquet Club. And at 3 o'clock, my favorite, little afternoon nap scheduled in there.
Oh, you should have that. Yeah, it's a retirement home.
Yeah, you got to live like you're a senior citizen. And then after your nap, you can wake up and lounge by the pool, have an early dinner at 5 o'clock, of course. Great. And then this is kind of 7 p.m. You can play Bingo Bel Grande.
That's fun. Yeah,
I think
Bingo
Del
Grande. That's fun.
And then at 8 o'clock, take your ass to bed because it's bedtime
That's
at 8 o'clock.
amazing. That's creative.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I was just kind of like, oh, what the hell kind of retirement community would Taco Bell do?
Right. Well, that's the kind.
There's your answer. And then for one thing to do around San Diego this week, if you ain't got nothing else to do, it's too bad Jim's off at the Star Wars castle or whatever in Cuomo, because Star Wars Return of the Jedi in concert is going to be this weekend at the Rady Shell.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's going to be at the Rady Shell both tonight and tomorrow evening, and it is presented by the San Diego Symphony. Attendees can finally hear pretty much the score from Return of the Jedi and a few extras.
I feel like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would go see that if it was
right up
free,
your alley.
Yeah,
right up Jim's alley.
Hey, you can't beat John Williams, man. He's the legend.
All right, well, good stuff on the back page. Presumably or assumedly, Jim will be doing it next week, although we don't know if he's here Monday or not. You'll have to tune in at 3 p.m. How about that? You'll have to tune in because
I'm not holding my breath.
Either am I. He's traveling Sunday, and Jim is so soft. He's going to pretend like it was the hardest thing he's ever done in his life, even though he's just sitting on a plane, and he can't recover in 20 hours from that.
Bro, my jet lag's so bad.
Oh my gosh. My cough, my allergies were so bad in Italy.
Turns out I'm allergic to work.
Dude, well, we've known that for a very long time. We really have. So we'll learn all about Jim's Italian wedding next week. We'll hear about Swiss Jim, his experiences in Switzerland. And, of course, we'll get you ready for Padres and Pirates from Petco as we head towards the final quarter of the season. Less than 50 games to go for the Padres, who are the hottest team in baseball heading into tonight. By the way, speaking of tonight, we will have a wrap-up show for you on YouTube at 9:30 Pacific. So following Padres-Marlins Game 1, we'll have that wrap-up show for you tonight. We'll see if the Padres have some magic in store tonight in South Florida, again, trailing 2-0 through 7 innings. And again, we're back here Monday at 3 p.m. on San Diego Sports 760. We always remind you, if you missed anything at any point this week, you can check it out at sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, Spotify. As you've heard me say before around this time, if you're listening to us on podcast, thank you. Please let other people know it's available to them on podcast, and please leave a review as well. We really would appreciate that. So thank you for those that are listening live or on replay. We're on social media. You know that as well. Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM. That's at Jon and Jim. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, on X or Twitter as well. Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM. Back Monday at 3 p.m., recapping this weekend in Miami. Fan Fest as well. Looking ahead to the series against the Pirates for Swiss Jim and Brent. I'm Jon. Have a great weekend and keep it right here. This is San Diego Sports 760.